live on stage. The sound.
Orlando.
So, is they ready? The sound.
Orlando.
You know?
Man, that was crazy as hell, man. It sounded like Houston, Jam Pony Express. Everybody took over the airways, man. It's crazy, man. But man, we're back. We ain't taking no shorts, man. We coming back because this is what it is.
That's what's up.
You were talking about doing that smash and creating this new vibe. Now continue with what you were talking about if you can remember where you were in that story.
I was saying, far as after we did Beef Box and we put that out, and it became such a big hit, and actually started the first independent hip hop throughout, from the entire South. That was the first record. It was called Beef Box with MC Chief and Sexy Lady.
Man, you hear that, peoples? You get a crash course in the beginnings of that Florida Dirty South sound. And make no mistake, it came from Florida. So
yeah,
continue, my brother.
Well, on the record, they put me down for special effects, so they didn't put me down for producer or anything. But I was just glad to have my name on the record.
Right.
And I didn't even know what a producer was at the time, But a lot of that happens in the business or what have you. They gave Frank producer credit on that. So if you look at the record, that's what you'll see, Right. But we did that record, and then I went back to Liberty City. I was like, because I, would only come up on the summers, and I went back, to the city and went back to living my life. And my dad, he continued to make records. And he was getting, he had other artists and different things. He was making records and they were doing records. But the records they were making, they were, a lot of them were just flopping, And he was trying to figure it out, like what was going on, like why, because it was it happened so easy the first time and nobody really paid attention to what really happened.
Right.
And so he felt like, hey, I could just do this and just get anybody and just do it. And that's what he was doing. But he started, the records were flopping and he was losing a lot of money. So when I came back, like the next year or so, and he was like, I was making a mixtape one day in the swap shop, and I was, we had the two turntables hooked up, and I was making the mixtape, and he walked in while I was, I don't even know if it was an 8-track or a mixtape or what, but I know I was making a tape or what have you, and he walked in with no mixer, mind you, and he walked in and he was like, why don't you make a record? And I'm like, because that was never, something, no admirations of mine, nothing I wanted to do.
Right.
I was cool playing the background, and he was like, why don't you make a record? And I was like, okay. And then he had an idea. He wanted this train record because CM DJs at the time, CM Express, they were the only ones that had this record, just like this train record, and they had this loud horn on it, and it just used to get the parties crunk when they played it.
Mm-hmm.
But CM wouldn't tell nobody where they got the record from, so everybody came to my dad always looking for it at the record store. He couldn't find it. He didn't know where to get it from. They wouldn't tell nobody, so he was like, God dog it, I'm gonna make this record, And so he came to me and he was like, yo, why don't you make a record? And And then he was like, something, like a train, So I'm like, okay, whatever, I'm just trying to, you know, do what he asked me, you know what I'm saying?
Right, right.
And so I start thinking, but on the stereo, because what I used to do all the time, I used to always blow the speakers in the shop. So I always kept the bass always fully crunk. So when he told me about making a record, my first inclination was bass. That was my thought process. Well, you understand what I'm saying? And that's where my idea came from. Was like
History right now, man. We in class right now. Pay attention, children. Listen to the teacher. Continue, my
so
brother.
So, as he's talking to me, like I said, I'm making a mixtape. He's standing on the side of the system, on the stereo system and everything while I'm doing what I'm doing. But I'm looking at the stereo system and I'm looking at the bass and treble knob and while he's talking to me, and I'm just like thinking about bass. He's talking about a train. I'm thinking about bass. So I'm like, okay, so we formulated right then the concept. And that's when I was like, bass, solid as a rock. And he was like, on a express. You understand what I'm saying? That can't be stopped. And that's how we put that together, bass rock express.
Man, just stop, man. Please, just stop. Dude, when I used to hear that record, it completely and utterly blew my mind. And you just took me back to being like 10 years old, 11 years old, listening to this, like feeling like I knew something the world didn't. Like,
okay,
you know what I mean? Like, we had them tapes, man. I'm telling you, we had them tapes, and we, I don't know how we get them. We get them from brothers, uncles, cousins, whatever, and we'd have them tapes, bro. And that shit was everything, man. People had low riders. Back in the days, they had a song called "Low Ride Bass," and we would listen to Rodney O and Joe Cooley and shit like that. And
that's right.
And when that thing came out, man, that was everything, bro. Continue.
Yeah. So he said, he was going to book the studio time and yada yada yada. He mentioned it to me. He was like, "Yeah, let's do it. Let's make this record." Now, you got to remember, I'm still in my teens, my young teens at the time, and I'm like, okay, I kept making the mixtape. I don't know, was it a couple weeks, a month later, or something? One morning we were getting up, getting ready to go to the record store, go open up,
Right.
And he was in the bathroom shaving. And he said, we got studio tonight. I'm like, what? Now, this man ain't say nothing to me since that day, okay? And I didn't even know it was confirmed. I didn't even know, you understand? So I'm sitting there like, oh, man, this cat's tripping. You know what I'm saying? We got studio, so now I feel this great pressure on me, this great weight,
Right.
Because he's telling me, just go in the studio and do what you did the first time, okay? So he's trying to duplicate that process that we did. He don't know what we did. He don't, he just, whatever you did, do that again,
Right.
So I'm like, So I'm sitting on the side of my bed and I'm putting on my shoes. And I remember, and I'm just thinking, man, I'm sweating bullets because he told me about it, but he never mentioned it again. So I didn't think of anything. I just let that kept going out my head. We had the title. That was it, So I'm sitting on the side of the bed and I'm sweating bullets, man. I'm like, damn. Oh, man. And I was watching Channel 33 because I used to always watch that in the mornings. And my show came on, one of my shows, which was Green Acres. And
Man, boy, look at here. He's taking us back. Green
so,
Acres.
so I'm sitting there, and the show comes on. Dun 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 dun, boom boom. Dun 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 dun, boom boom. Dun 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 dun, boom boom. And I was like, "That's it. I got it." Cause all I realized, if I'm gonna do what I did before, I just do what's in me, you know.
Right.
But I needed a catalyst, and that
Right.
Green Acres was that catalyst for me. So when I heard that, I was like, I got it. You know, I didn't say anything to him. I just was like in my head, I got it.
Right.
You know, because I know Green Acres backwards and forwards. You know, so I'm like, okay. So then that day, I just wrote out the song. You know, wrote the lyrics. You know, to Bass Rock Express, and then we went to the studio that night after, you know, the record store, after we closed up. Went in, we got with the engineer Amos, and uh, he had no clue what we were doing, because only me and my dad had talked about this. So we get to the studio, and basically, but he was around when we did the first project, because he was managing Henry Stone Studios at the time, even when we had the other engineer, Frank Canillas. So he remembered, he knew what happened, that basically I produced that other record. So it
Right.
was like, okay, you come in, you know, and he was just gonna, you know, play what my vibe, what I came up with, you know, and that's what I did. So he broke out the drum machine. We duplicated the same process that I did with the last engineer. You just break out the drum machine, but now we had an 808 drum machine.
Mm. Mm.
And we
Mm.
and we broke out the 808, and
Mm.
you know, I gave him the beat, and we programmed the beat, and one thing I learned, I guess, being around all that music, you know, in the record store and in my mom's store, and dealing with so much music in the radio, it was like I had just these rhythms and different things in my head. I could just, you know, come up with rhythms, and you know, and so all I needed was somebody who could play, because I didn't know how to play anything. You know, I didn't know
Right.
anything about that part, but I knew what it should sound like, and that's what I was blessed with, was my ears. So long as I could have somebody to play it, we good, and that's
Right.
what we did. You know, we just Amos just he played, you know, the bass line, and you know, I had all these rhythms. They were just innately in me, you know. Like
Right.
I say, it was because I was around so much music, and we did Bass Rock Express and put it out, and again another smash hit, and it went crazy, you know. But this time it was even more international, you know, and then people were like, okay, that was some kind of fluke, you know, because the record just kicked down all kind of doors, you know, and but nobody still was on bass at that time, you know what I'm saying? They
Right.
wasn't, you know, it wasn't really on it. But Amos, he picked up on it because he was actually working for Henry Stone, and Henry Stone knew the records that we were selling and how we were, you know, really making this money. So, you know, Henry Stone was to him like, yo, hey, produce some of this stuff, do some of
Right.
this. And
Right.
that's when Amos, he did like Ghetto Jump, and he
Man, oh,
came with the wild
man, boy, look at here, man. Let's go,
so, so
man. Ghetto jump, man,
yeah,
bro. You
yeah,
know what kind of energy that record was, dog,
yeah. And what
man.
he did, and what he did, he he went and got him a parody tune, and that was the Wild Wild West, you know. and he slapped that on there. He used the exact same banjo and different things that we used on Bass Rock Express.
Right.
Because we got all the records in the record store, it was like, so we gonna hear everything that comes out. So we heard the record, and it wasn't so cool because it's like, okay, now you're biting. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
And you was in there with us with the secret sauce, and now you're just doing anything. You know what I'm saying? Okay, cool, no problem. So that was the last record I made with Amos, and then I went back and did Bass Mechanic.
This was on Sunnyview.
Well, with Ghetto Jump, yes.
Ghetto Jump.
Hot Records. Right. Yeah, Hot Records, Sunnyview. Yeah, they merged and went to Sunnyview, what have you. But so like I said, we didn't, I didn't go back and make no more records with him because we didn't want to give no more sauce up. Right. And so then I went and did Bass Mechanic. And when I did Bass Mechanic, that record is what really validated bass music, because it came out and it was like, wait a minute, here's this bass thing again. And it just terrorized. And that's when everybody at that point said, okay, bass music is real. Whatever this bass thing is, I'm finna jump on the bandwagon.
God damn, boy. I mean, you just took the whole thing back. That's crazy. Because like you said, all of the sounds are kind of, prior to that, they were kind of beating around it a little bit. They were trying to get there, but they couldn't get all the way there. And to your point, when those records dropped, you took it all the way there. Like there was no way you could escape that. Okay, I have to ask this. How were you able, given like you said, you didn't have any experience in engineering, to get those frequencies to where they didn't not only blow the studio speakers, because back then, right, it was just Yamahas, the Menace 10s.
Listen, the problem that I did have in the studio is because I demanded they push it to the limit, right. And in the red. And that was not something that was normal or what was, normal case of doing business in the studio. And
right. Which is crazy because now you hear everybody tell you, especially with the newer music that's out right now, put a little distortion in that bass so you can hear it on a phone.
Yeah.
Yeah. And basically that's what you're saying. When that goes into red, there's a distortion to it.
Yeah.
But if mixed right, you're gonna feel it and you're gonna hear it.
That's right.
So how are you doing all of these things with no,
Well, because my ears,
right.
I could, one thing I learned is it's just what I could hear. Right. I didn't know, but these were trained engineers. Now, these guys were good. Frank and Amos, fantastic engineers. You right. understand? I mean, very good. I give them their props, Right. So they were able to give me, a great musician or engineer, they can give you what you need if you can express it, Right. And I was able to express it to them, and we went in those rabbit holes, and that's what we came out with.
Right. Wow. And so Bass Mechanic comes out, and like you said, it took off. Just went crazy. What was that like, seeing Foresight Records as the Def Jam of the South for that moment, for that time period? What was that like to see people wanting to get on the record? People like enforcers and the like?
Um, it was something because everybody, like you said, everybody started coming out trying to make a record at that point.
Right.
Um, and everybody went from just being fans of the music to wanting to be artists and make records themselves, from like you said, Enforcers, Luke,
Right.
everybody, so I mean, it was a compliment. And I didn't really pay attention to the other folks necessarily, because I was just really, I just did what I liked. It was just
Right.
like, yeah, it was just like an art to me. It was like, I like this, so my music was always what I liked.
Right.
I didn't, like you said something earlier that was that resonated with me very much so, because I don't know where the term Miami bass came from, because I did not consider my music bass music. I considered my music, and I like that bass in it. You understand what I'm saying? I don't know where that term came up. That wasn't me, and I started or created what you guys are calling Miami bass, but that wasn't what I coined it or named it, and that's not even how I thought of it. I
Right.
like music, and I
Right.
like music with heavy bottom in it,
Right.
with the big boom in it. That's
Right.
what it was for me. It wasn't Miami bass, but so be it. It is what it is. But that's I just related to what you were saying.
Right. And and I definitely want to, you know, Mr. Mix, which, to his credit, he was he his sound was unique to him. I think he's probably, along with you, one of the unsung heroes of producers in the South that don't really get the recognition. When you think of what was done with Two Live Crew, they normally reference it to either Luke or just Two Live Crew in general, but not Mr. Mix.
Yeah,
Um, but his sound
mix
was
mix was dope. Yeah,
he just it was a mixture of reggae, calypso, hip hop breaks. Like, he just had everything in there, and it just sounded like Florida. Um, do you think, as they tend to do with the South just in general, they view this as not, you know, sophisticated enough to run with the producers of the New Yorks and the maybe the LAs, if you will, this pre Atlanta? Do you think that there was this kind of dismissal
most
for
definitely, most
your
definitely. I
guys'
mean,
talent?
yeah, most definitely, because with the kind of music that I was making at the time, uh, again, they labeled it bass music, but it wasn't bass music to me. It was, if you listen to it, it was music.
Right,
Um, even I remember Run DMC, they made Up Tempo, okay? And Up Tempo was a South thing at the time.
right,
And you could tell it was an influence, because they made that up, and they just went into and just started jamming this record. When you listen to that record, it went into that up tempo beat, and it started playing, and then on top of that they had dogs in it barking,
right,
you know just like bass mechanic. So
right,
I could tell how they recognized what we were doing,
right,
and how powerful our records were. But
right,
again, because we were in the South, and because this is really black against black, on what we're talking about. You know, this was up up north black folks and down south black folks. And the up north black folks really looking at the down south black folks on the way Willie Lynch and others taught them how to look at us. You understand what I'm saying? So we were like, you know, damaging our own, you know, by declassing them. And, you know, it was, you know, disparaging, and it is understandable that we were in the South and things were a little slower, what have you, because of education and different things like that. These things were true, but you know, when it came to, but you know,
well, I get what you're trying to say. The music was a reflection of what was going on down here, and so to them, you know, up north, it seemed like, you know, especially during those times, we had so much going on. We had your hardcore hip hop, we had your kind of party hip hop, and then we had, you know, the pro black movement started coming into play, and so there was a resistance in the intellect of how people came across. With that said, it's deeper than that. To your point, it goes back to, you know, the Willie Lynch theories, and you know, the idea
and
of
how to
feeling
put each
that,
other down, you know what I'm
right?
saying, and how, you know, so that
Oh, why
that
them
whole
girls
thing,
dancing like that to that music,
yeah,
knowing they like it, but
yeah,
you know, they don't do that up north.
right,
They're fully clothed. It's not the
right,
islands.
exactly.
We're like the islands down here. So even if they didn't dance like that, they wouldn't be wearing all of that. And they wouldn't be, you know, kind of acting like that. They would be a lot more free in their way of life. And, you know, at the same time, the music's going to reflect that freedom. And we just had a freedom in our music that not everything was, you know, for the betterment of our people, but that music
Correcto mundo.
wasn't meant to
Yes.
do that in the first place. It wasn't
Right.
meant to take up arms or be on a mission. It was meant to give us a place to kind of do our dances, because dances was big back in the days. Everybody danced, and you know, you wanted music to kind of give you that vibration. So when you hear it, you know, New York, they're not big on cars. We wanted
Yeah.
to hear it in the car, you know.
Yeah.
So for a lot of the stuff that it benefited, it looked like from the outside looking in, like we were just a bunch of savages, you know, and had no kind of like coof about us. And I think, as crazy as it sounds, it actually made what we were doing even stronger. It gave us our own place. And I tell this all the time, like in Orlando, there was similar vibrations in Orlando, whereas it was divisive musically. And, you know, you see it now, like, you know, the togetherness. Like you go to a club now, you might hear, you hear reggae, you hear, you know, bass, you hear this, you hear that. But back in those days, everything was kind of so separate. Oh, well, we play house here. We don't play that.
Yeah.
Or we play this, you know, and just genring us, which is another form of segregation, because music is not meant to be genreized at all.
That's right.
I laugh at shit when I hear motherfuckers talking about open format. Oh, he's open format. The fuck is that? That's like calling my brain open format. Like, yes, I speak a couple of languages. I eat some mofongo over here and some goddamn oxtails over here. Like, who chose to be closed? Like, what is that? I don't even understand that, but we use it so loosely to kind of make sense of what we do. And I think it goes deeper than that. I think that's a way to kind of tell people we're not playing hip hop.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, because when you say you're black, normally the questions sometimes are you blackity black? Are you like real black? Or are you just black? Because if you say black, it doesn't sound as threatening.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
colored, you're African American, but you're blackity black. We can't have that here, man. Like, nah, nigga, you ain't finna run all my women. I got a bar to take care of. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's that kind of stuff that when you think about it, it makes we. I don't know where those roads kind of went. Bass music was also known for, or that sound was also known for playing a lot of the old school breaks. Um, we played the hell out of dance and drummers beat out here, and all the
That
funk,
funk.
that funk.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
you hear records that would never even get played because of the tempo. Like
That's
everybody
right.
who's was stuck on 91 or 92 BPMs, and that allowed us to play everything. We could hear some damn freestyle, we could hear some damn disco, and we could hear everything because of that sound. And
Yeah.
so it was just like, you know, I'm just saying, like, you guys did so much and changed music for the entire world to look at tempos when it comes to our generation, our hip hop.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
now it seems like it's always been that way, but it wasn't.
Yeah. 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 I mean, I think in our environment, unlike, like how it was probably in the North, because down here in the South, in Florida, even our mentalities are, everybody does, it's a good and it's a bad
Right.
because, you know, we don't have, so to speak, gang mentality. We like every man can stand on his own,
Right.
and he can represent himself. He don't
Right.
need a whole bunch of people, doing, backing him up and all of that,
Right.
And it's a good and it's a bad because when it comes to business, it's bad because it hurts on us working together, you know. Um,
Man, bro. See, see. Are you listening, Orlando, to the words that are coming out of this man's mouth? People are tired of this stand on your own mentality at the expense of unity.
yes,
That shit in business never works.
never
We don't
works.
believe you. You need more people.
Yes,
This idea or concept that, we're out here to be on your own. It's funny, right? Like you got everybody for the record, but you ain't got nobody for the business.
that's right.
You
Yeah.
got everybody for the record. Man, you so dope. You're the greatest. You're the greatest. We love you. I need some help on the business. I can't fuck with it. That shit. Isn't that insane? The
Yeah.
mantra of the show is that same mentality. Like, hey, yo, this system that has been in place has promoted diversity, not because they like it, but because from a profit standpoint, this is a fucking effective business model. This works.
That's right.
Send that motherfucker out there amongst the wolves.
That's right. Yeah.
And the odds are always in their favor. Yeah, there might be a hero. I need a hero. There might be a hero out of maybe 2 out of 10. That's manageable.
That's right.
We just can't have the 10. And that's what a lot of people, feel. But you said something earlier. They don't know how to express it to the engineer. Part of
Yeah.
developing partnerships, relationships with people is the ability to not only to speak, but the ability to listen.
Right.
I would have
Right.
never thought I'm hearing the words that are coming out of your mouth. I would have never thought that. You hear it here first, people. Do not judge a book by its cover, and not because I judge you by its cover, but because, like anything natural, you feel or tend to feel people don't get it,
Yeah.
and that our unity is so threatening, based on baggage, based on the things that you know. And you just described, man, exactly what I've been saying for a minute, man. We need that unity, bro. And
That's
maybe
right.
it's not bound to zip codes. Maybe it's not bound to a fucking, area code. Maybe we need to continue to expand across this country and start building even larger networks and
That's right.
partnerships with people
That's right.
that
Definitely.
feel the same fucking way and are sick of it. And that shit has no age to it, none
That's right.
whatsoever, because it's a business model. It's not.
That's
It
right.
shit ain't got nothing to do with age. When we're dead and
No
gone, that
age,
business
no
model.
boundaries.
No,
That's
no,
right.
no. And this is, man, I'm so honored to have you on the show tonight. Talk about what you told me something about what you and your daughter are doing. Talk about that.
Um, last year I was just looking at I was watching the TV, and it was like right after with George Floyd, he had got killed, and then you had the Black Lives Matter, then you had Antifa, then you had Trump, then you had all this crazy stuff going on.
All right.
So I'm just like, and on top of that, you got COVID, and
Right.
everybody dying. And so I'm like, man, and I'm watching the TV and I'm just like, man, this is just too much. It's too much in the form of what are the people really focus on? Because we're definitely going to have some troublesome times. You understand? We're seeing the start of some real problems coming. And it's
Right.
like, do my people really realize what they need to be doing right now? They
Right.
need to be focused on their futures, not all this bull crap, not all this noise, because paying attention to that is going to have you unprepared for what is to come. So I wanted to come up with something, and I thought, and I said, man, I need to come up with something, something to give a message to the people. And the thought came to me, gotta have goals. And I came up with the concept in my mind of gotta have goals, and went in the studio and just made a record from just that thought process of gotta have goals. And the record is fantastic. It's
Man, and
it,
this is featuring your daughter as well.
it's featuring my daughter, and it should have came out yesterday. It's on iTunes. It should be available on iTunes and everything.
And where can
So it's
they?
called
What's the name of it? And
Gotta Have
have goals.
Goals. Gotta Have Goals.
Available on all platforms. Right,
Yes. And
man.
it's just a record that is you know needed. It's some information because the records we got out now. Let's put some Peter in the mouth and let's yada yada yada. It's like, man, we suffering already, and this
Right,
stuff ain't helping. It's
right,
not helping us. It's not
right,
helping our kids. I don't want to see, what I'm saying, the little children coming up and hearing and listening to this. That's not doing nothing for their brains. That's not
right,
helping them. We can see we got problems. I mean,
right.
you got the trial on TV now. You got all this crazy stuff. People steady getting killed. People steady getting knocked down. And I tell people at the same time, listen, first of all, do you believe in the Creator? Do you believe in the Father? Or you think you created yourself, or you walked out the ocean from a fish or something? I don't know what you think. But one thing I can tell you is, they call it a fantasy book. They call the Bible a fantasy book. But I want to tell everybody out there that even if you don't believe it spiritually, okay, follow me. Even if you don't believe it spiritually, that I want you to understand that those stories in there, because this is what get people thrown off, because the principles are solid. Okay, they in all your laws and everything else. You know,
Right.
they are absolute math.
Well,
But
the Bible on its face is a complete mess and a
mhm.
contradiction of itself, nonstop.
Well,
But
I tell you this.
the deeper meanings, to your point, I'm agreeing with you. I'm
Mhm.
saying that the principles, like you're talking about, the stories are based on humanity and the
But but
idea
but
that we
but check
encompass
me out.
everything.
Follow me. Follow me on this point.
Go ahead.
The part that, because the principles, right? We got the principles and we got the stories, right?
Right.
We agree that the principles are solid. Okay, principles are
Right.
solid, correct?
Right. It could have been the Easter bunny that they were talking about.
Okay,
It don't
but
matter. It's
the stories is what, you know, what people say, oh no, I don't believe that happened or this and that. But let me tell you, this is what people are missing. Those stories, this is what happened. We're gonna deal with straight math. We're not even talking spirituality. Those stories are so mind blowing. They take your mind and stretch them to such a level that if you believed those stories, that what they would do is prepare you so when things are going on now in your time, your mind has been stretched so much that when something happens now, you're not blowed. Your mind is not blowed, and you're sitting there like a deer in the headlights. No, you already understand. You've seen and believe stories that are greater than things that you're even experiencing now. So you're able to pivot and not be like a deer in the headlights and get hit by the car, because you're able to say, well, my mind has been stretched on these stories, these so-called fantasies. You understand? So now your mind has been blown to another level. So the thing about believing those stories, they actually help you because they
right.
stretch your mind beyond comprehension. So while you're dealing with things now, you can deal with them because your mind's been blown to a whole nother level anyway.
Right.
So you're
And
not caught off guard when something happens like COVID and people are like, oh, what's going on? Or somebody loses all their money, or somebody says and then they want to commit suicide and this and that. If your mind has been blown by these stories, these other things are not going to freak you out and throw you off. You'll be
right.
able to pivot and get yourself together. So
And
mathematically, it works.
I'm agreeing with you. I'm agreeing with you entirely on what you're saying. Um, but I think you also are alluding to the premise or the idea of all of the stories that were in there. In fact, Brett, I'm gonna have to have you back on, bro. Not only for like a round table, but just another conversation, because this is, you're watching two men talk to each other about not only what they love, but how to love. These things
That's
that,
right.
and what you're talking about, what you're alluding to is that for everything that's in that Bible or the Quran or the Torah,
Mm-hmm,
the one constant is to love deeply and to forgive quickly.
mm-hmm,
Um, both things are required in order to exist in this lifetime, because the idea of time, you could go at any day. The idea of putting off anything is an insult to your life, as well as the idea of what it is to rest. And when we're talking about resting, um, we you just described last year and what's all been going on. We've all been traumatized in stereo last year. All of us has been touched, molested by our uncle. We're all fucking victims of just horrible crimes of humanity given last year, and what people, to your point, did not believe. And I'll end it with this: the fact that someone can say that story is told like you're describing, that yo, this story was told, book of Jesus, whatever, these things were talked about or discussed, eliminates the idea entirely that the root of it all doesn't exist. It may not exist in your mind to you, but existence ain't based on what we see. An idea means that exists based on the math. Just an idea alone means that's a part of the universe. What is impossible is things that we cannot interpret, that we don't know, that we don't even see. And those things are only impossible for a time being. There may be 40 years of your life of not even seeing the sun existing. And then you wake up on your deathbed one day, and boom, there the sun is to you. The whole world was telling you the sun was there. But God didn't give you eyes. Maybe he blinded you. Maybe you had to hear stories about the sun, but you never seen it because you're blind. All of these things, like I said, at the end of the day, are why, and I'm going to end it with this, why it's so important right now that we as a people begin this grand communication with one another. And we start talking to each other, not at each other, not about each other, but talking to each other. This is the new movement of the idea of the next chapters that haven't been written yet or we haven't seen in print yet. This next movement of we've been walking around here silent towards one another. We're taught mind our business, only mess with the people you know. These kind of things have trickled down in all of our lives in one way or another. And to the point that when we feel that we're alone, like you were talking about the suicide, we're actually believing it because we created a life to not be close to anything or anyone out of fight or flight mode. And the conversations are needed right now more than they ever been. The idea of just reaching out to your family, your global family, your tribe that you ain't met yet. The idea or the premise that we've met all our tribe yet is bullshit. That you met all your family members yet. When God says there's many mansions, well, that sounds like many family members. That sounds like many people that you have yet to meet that are part of your bloodline. You hear people talk all day long. Oh, I gotta keep my circle small. You're a fucking idiot. That's like God saying, I gotta keep this universe small. I gotta keep this moon small. We're in this world in which the ridiculousness is what's considered normal, and then we're all aspiring to be normal, to not be ridiculed, to not be looked at as insane. Everybody in that damn Bible, outside of maybe Jesus Christ himself, was a complete Looney Tune, was a maniac. You think Noah wanted to do what he did? Hell no. He didn't want to build no damn ark. Jonah didn't want to do what God was telling him to do. He's like, what? I'm trying to do this. Like, people that are reluctant, and you described it tonight, and I don't even think you heard yourself. You said, I didn't want to do what my dad was telling me. Why I got to do that? It's all this pressure. But when you're reluctant to do something, and like I am, and we're talking tonight, I didn't plan to do this show. There's nothing about me wanting to put my face out there and being this person that, hey, look at me. There's nothing. If you told me this is what I would be doing a year ago, I would have looked at you and laughed. But that's why I know it's the right thing to do, because I don't want to do it. And you find anyone in that Bible that said that they wanted to do whatever the hell God told them to do when they had these other plans. Man, I was trying, Jesus, I made all these friends. I got dope disciples, man. Everybody chilling, and I met this nice woman, and we trying to build something big. We trying to take Rome down. Damn, I gotta go now. And you gonna take me out that way? Like, who wants to do that? But it needed to be done.
That's right.
It needed to be done, and thank God for people that do things that need to be done. And with that, man, I just want to say, bro, you are always welcome on the show. I love your spirit. I love your intellect, bro. It's more than bass. It's more than hip hop. This is about humanity right now. We're talking to each other as human beings. We never met until this day. But that tells you, bro, we are out here. All of us are out here, man. And we need each other now more than ever. So we salute you, bro. You're always welcome in Orlando, brother.
and we gotta, I would say people need to know who they are, you know,
Right.
and we are the soul, you know. I also I wrote a book, and it's called "What Is the Soul." And you can go and get it on Barnes and Nobles and different things
Go. You
online,
hear that, people?
Amazon.
Yes.
Yeah, that's it there.
Man, go. Man, MCADE wrote a book. What is the soul? Yo, go support that brother, man. Go out there and pick that up, man. We need that right now.
Real talk.
We need that right now, man. Hey, bro, like I said, man, you're always welcome on the show. I got another guest coming on, but man, please let's continue this, bro. You got my phone number. Like I said, anytime you're in Orlando, you're welcome out here, man. You've been a legend to not only Miami, South Florida, but you're also a legend here. And we support everything you're doing, bro. And let us know when that video drop, and we'll run it over here too, man.
And I want to say to to all of us, and especially all our Florida folks, we are united. This is our thing. This is our music, and like you were saying earlier, it might have got downplayed, but it's ruling the whole world now.
Right.
So
right, a lot of milk on people's faces right now.
That's
So,
right.
Who knew?
Yeah,
man. But we love you, man. Thank you for coming on tonight, man. And like I said, don't be a stranger. You got my number. Check a brother, man, and let's continue talking. All right, my brother.
Love, my brother.
Give it up for the legendary creator of bass, the one and only, the author, the producer, the humanitarian, MC A.D.E. Let's go.
Yeah.
Man, bro, this is what we're talking about, man. Talking to people across our state, across our country, man. And, bro, this is what we got to do, man. We got to continue the conversation. I got another guest coming on right after him. And, man, this is the Soul Show. Sound of Orlando, let's go. Let's go.
Live on stage.
The sound.
Orlando.
So, is they ready? The sound.